Hello, this is the podcast, The Year of Being 70, that was started by my friend Lucy McCarra, who is in Norfolk in the UK, and I'm in Amsterdam, the Netherlands. My name is Lisette Schuitenmaker. We met through our mothers who were best friends, and we became friends when we were 8. And today we're going to talk about, actually, we have a question. We have a question for you when you're watching or listening. What is your definition of success? When do you feel a sense of success? And so, because I'm doing the opening announcement, I get to ask this of you, Lucy.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think it's an interesting word, isn't it? Success. I mean, people talk about it, and it sort of has different meanings to different people, I suppose. But I guess I'm guessing that both of our definitions of success and our understandings and experiences of success have changed over the years. I don't know if I ever personally thought about being successful when I was young. It wasn't something that was talked about in my family. I don't remember anybody saying you have to do this to be successful, or you need to, you've got to be a successful person. But I suppose if I thought about it, success was probably something that was measured through your external achievements in some way. I mean, I probably thought about success more in terms of being a male thing and perhaps something more that,
Oh, interesting.
yeah, I mean, I'm trying to get back into my head then. I didn't think about it for myself. I didn't think about it in terms of my mother. I think I probably thought my father was successful, and that possibly that my brothers ought to be successful, and that my husband, I think actually Rob was probably ambitious and therefore keen to be successful. And so I thought about it more in terms of perhaps supporting him rather than having any kind of defined kind of career myself. And that's certainly changed over the years and what success meant. I mean, I
But
have to say, my parents didn't sort of prescribe a way of life for me. They were always pretty open about, sort of just wanting me to do what would make me happy, I think, although they probably didn't actually explicitly say that either. But I think the first time I felt lack of success was when, I mean, I'd always been told, and
can
I'm
I
sure.
come back, Lucy? Can I come
Yes,
back
yes,
to what you
yes.
said about success being a male thing?
Yes, what did
Because what it triggers in me is that I see success is something on the outside that people can see. Whereas for me, I don't think about success. I want to succeed in certain things, or I want certain things to succeed that I'm engaged in because I believe in them. So in that sense, I want them to be kind of maybe a visible success, like a book or a company I invest in or a fund that I am chairing. And but I want those things to succeed. But for me, I think much more in fulfillment. What really fulfills me, or where do I fulfill the promise or that is in me? That is much more the way I define it. So maybe also in our audience, there is a distinction between kind of the outer visible,
yeah,
acknowledged in society success, like the better job and the bigger house and the car and or the spouse or
the
the children doing
lifestyle.
well in school, all those things that are visible and measurable. And then there is the inner, maybe more feminine kind of feeling, yay, I am on track. I'm actually doing things that are useful to other people, and that gives me a sense of fulfillment.
Yes, and actually, I mean, yes, I think there's a definitely a distinction between success and fulfillment, but there's also a distinction between success as a concept and the feeling of succeeding. And that's, I think, I don't know, success is all sort of perhaps more external that, it's something you can point to and say, this was a
Yeah.
success. While succeeding is more of an internal, it's the verb, it's the internal feeling, and it's progressive rather than just this is the thing that worked, rather than, I am succeeding at this and it's an ongoing process.
I
Maybe
like this verb because succeeding is also like succession, right?
it was just that word
So that's
just
so
came into my
interesting.
head as well. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because none of us, I mean, you nor I have really stepped into our parents' shoes. Well, in a way, of course, we have. I did want to prove to my father that I could function in his world, which was very much the world of business. And I think my mother would say that my father had made a big success of himself. So
Yeah.
there
Well, I
was a
mean,
definition there.
yes, and objectively, he did. He came from a not particularly well-off background, succeeded in a business arena,
Yeah.
and became very wealthy. And that is one.
Well, very,
Well,
very
I
well.
mean,
Don't overdo it,
a
Lucy.
lot.
I mean, he had a really, no, he contributed to society through that company and was rewarded well for it. Let's say it like that.
Okay,
But
yes,
he was, yeah, a success. And I think in those years in the, say, 60s, 70s, maybe 80s, success was a thing. And we had the big shoulder pads, and there was something about, greed is good. And that was all success. And then, yeah, I think I was in a way part of that, but it never really meant anything to me so much. I mean, I thought it was amazing that I could start a communications company and succeed in employing, giving people employment and helping them fulfill their promise and then do things for clients that were so useful to them that they were willing to pay for it.
yes, yes. No, but did you feel successful then? Did you feel you
I
were
think at some point I felt successful. I did. I think I could walk around town. I can, recall that feeling of walking around town in my power suit and going into the bank to talk with the, people on the board and kind of put a communication plan to them and then kind of have work for my company for the next, weeks. That did feel like success.
yeah.
Yes, it's very much like an 80s, beginning of 90s thing.
Yes, there was a real change in the air then, very definitely. I mean, it's sort of associated for me and for maybe, more people in the UK with Mrs. Thatcher coming in, the deregulation of the financial markets. As you say, sort of greed is good. We had kind of a lot of kind of comedy about money, 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 and that sort of persona, the traders in the city and how they were making loads of money was actually a catchphrase. A comedian called Harry Enfield who had a character who was that kind of, and it yeah, and somehow, as you say, the kind of fashion and the environment changed to, sort of from our kind of more hippie peace and love kind of upbringing to, I mean, it really jarred with me. I really, really disliked. I mean, I can't say I wasn't part of it because we were running a TV and video production company at the time and were, sort of part of that needing to be successful in the media, successful financially, whole arena.
And
But
did you feel successful?
um, I don't know how successful I've ever felt, to be honest, in
Well,
my own right. I'm not. I mean, the company was successful, but I didn't take, and I contributed to a lot of it. And I was the head of development, so I would come up with ideas and write up concepts and help to get them commissioned by broadcasters or filmmakers or whatever. And so yes, there were some things there were a couple of things I did feel success about actually. And that was one of them was a children's series called Runaway Bay, which I absolutely kind of felt, was very much my success in getting it off the ground. And another one was a children's environmental TV series called Go Wild, which I was actually told to stop working on at one point because it wasn't going to get anywhere. And I didn't stop. And I sent it. I sent the proposal to a TV company and they commissioned it. So I kind of
you were stubborn
I
because there was something
was.
you believed in and you had joy found joy in doing it and you thought this is worthwhile, I'm just going to push on even if they tell me off. And so, yeah, that does sound like success,
Exactly.
right?
So that, yeah, that felt like success. No, that's true. I'm probably underplaying my areas of success.
Well, that's also a very feminine thing to do, right?
Yeah.
To kind of have so much going on of self-doubt and, who am I? And I don't really know this stuff. Everybody else gives the impression that they know what they're on about, and I don't really know what I'm on about. So it must be somehow wrong. So I can't be really successful. I think one of the things we should actually stop doing, not kind of gauging the inner world, which I'm very much a fan of. I don't think, outer success is only the very thin veneer. It's on the inner that we really feel it, but to put ourselves down and to kind of under expect from ourselves.
Yes, we should definitely. Yes, I know we should stop doing that. And I know that's a sort of um that's a I don't want to call it a fault, but it is something I default to, is I very easily feel that, if something goes wrong, oh no, everything's wrong. I've failed, I've stopped
Yeah,
succeeding. It's that's much easier to fall into than to
yeah,
really feel, oh, and to hold that feeling when you do have successes, to hold that feeling of success and keep it within you, if you like, keep it safe. I
yeah.
find that hard to do, but I think that is a natural thing to do. I mean, we, as a species, I think we give more attention to negative signals than to positive ones, and that's probably perfectly sensible because it's better not to be
I
killed
fight
by.
that. I fight that all the way. I fight that all the way. All my coaching was about why would you think negatively of yourself if you could just as well think
Yeah.
positively of yourself, charge yourself positively, be a light in this world, not be a dark pit in this world because of self-flagellation. So I fight that all the way.
Yes, no,
And it's in
absolutely.
my books, and it's like, it's no use putting ourselves down inside because we have come as a light, as a being into this world, and, you know, letting our light shine. And even if we fall down every day, we have the courage to get up and do it again. And yeah, no.
No, no,
I'm adamant
absolutely.
about this, as you can tell.
Yeah, no, no, you're completely right. But actually, I find it easier, perhaps, to encourage other people to do that and to be successful. And somehow that's what I've been doing for the last 12 years, and perhaps before that as well, in different ways, to encourage and develop other people's success. And I love doing that. I love, sort of inspiring people and helping
Yeah.
them find ways to achieve what they want to achieve and then celebrating in their success, and that actually in itself does make me feel successful, in fact. So it's
Okay, it
it's
does
a
make
it's
you feel successful. This is through Rethink Press, right? A company,
yeah.
publishing company you started. So that does make you feel successful
Yes, yes.
right now. Does it make you feel successful right now?
Yeah, yes, I mean, I can kind of draw that up. I mean, tomorrow I am going to the launch, a book launch of one of the authors that I have been mentoring. And she's been on a real long journey for about 4 years to get her book written. And it started when she came on one of my women only writing programs. And her name is Faye Allen. I may as well give her the
Yeah, promote her.
and she's written a book called Building Women, and it's about women in the built environment industry, the construction industry.
Oh, wow.
The situation is not great for women in that industry. It's one of the I should probably say it, but kind of dinosaur industries. I think there are only 15% of the workforce is female in that industry, and so they are subject to all sorts of unpleasant kind of practices, and you can imagine. But she has written this great book, kind of exposing it, but not in a negative way. It's all about how to make it better, and it's not only the stories of women in the book, but about the male allies that she has found and worked with, and lots of statistics in there, lots of case studies, and she has actually had the most incredibly difficult personal journey over this time, and it's just so impressive. that she has actually got the book written despite, illness, death, all sorts of things going,
Hmm.
being really taxing for her. But, and also, the difficulty of getting a book written that kind of goes against the tide. And
What's
and
it
we're going to
called?
the I'm going to the launch tomorrow, and I'll be saying something about this. And that makes, I mean, I am absolutely thrilled by her success in getting this book out, and I'm absolutely certain that this book is going to provide her with a platform to become a successful speaker and consultant and all sorts of things that I hope she will take advantage of. And to be able to change her industry, and having helped her do that makes me, that makes me feel that that's something I've done, that I've succeeded and been successful as well. So that's
That's wonderful. What's the title of the book,
the
Lucy?
title of the book is called Building Women.
Oh, Building Women.
So
You
it's a
said,
nice
yeah,
kind of, yes, it's a nice pun.
yeah.
It is about building women, but it's also about women in building. So it's yeah,
No,
it's
but I think that is lovely that you say you help others be successful. And that adds to your sense of kind of a feeling of achievement or fulfillment and success. It
yeah,
makes you,
certainly fulfillment. Yes.
yeah.
Yeah, but that is what you do as well. You have your passion for the environment, particularly, I think, and you sit on boards and you start companies
I
and
sit
you
on boards and invest in, well, for me, it's not some, the environment I find such a strange term. What does it mean, the environment? It's like I feel part of an interdependent, interconnected whole on this amazing planet that has exactly the right conditions for us to have an experience of life and but also with yeah, people in other places who do not have, who would want the kind of life that we have in safe homes and heated places and cooled places and so I just want to kind of, how can I help? That's basically my attitude. How can I help? Where can I help? And very often people go like, "Oh, can you help here?" And I go like, "Oh, I don't know anything about this. I'm not sure." And so I feel very much like Alice in Wonderland kind of person who is being given the opportunity again and again, and still at age 70, almost turning 71, I must say, 3 months for me. And being asked, I'm just after this call, I'm going to see a man who is turning 40, and together we're going to set up, this board that I'm asked to function in. I go, how wonderful this is.
and what is the board? What is the plan? What is the vision?
Yeah, so this is actually also in construction. The company
Oh,
is called Crowd Building, and they are all about facilitating private individuals to come together and find plots of land, and for municipalities to advertise and provinces to advertise pieces of land where people can develop like their own neighborhood and their own area and build with, you know, secondhand materials that have already been used and can be reused, and then build so they live as lightly on the environment, on the environment. Now I'm saying it.
yes.
They are really, yeah, live as lightly on the planet as they can and live as much, in contact with each other as they wish to, but as is also, conducive to them all. I actually look out on such an area, which is 30 build. It's like floating houses, and it's really a community, and it's lovely. And you see the children play, and it's really wonderful. So that's the platform that has been launched in the Netherlands. Hopefully, will start in other countries, but concentrating on the Netherlands. And it is in the format of steward ownership, which that is, I am a shareholder, but only for a certain amount of time. When I have my money back with a little premium, then the shares go into a foundation, and a foundation will be the owner of the company and will guard that it will not have mission drift. And basically, then they can either kind of keep their prices low because they don't need to earn money for investors and shareholders, or they can have price market value and any profits they can, use for other projects. But we're not there yet. We now still have investors who find it very daring that to go into such a construct.
Is it risky? Do you think it's riskier for investors than normal?
Oh no, I don't think it is riskier for investors. Well, any startup is risky
Of
because
course.
they come with something new, and will it fly? Are they too
Yeah.
early? Can they pull it off? But because these people are so mission driven, I actually think it is less risky.
Yes, yes, it's definitely going to be a success. They are determined to be
Well, that's
successful.
the idea.
And so do you, I mean, I know it hasn't achieved its mission yet, it's only just starting, but is it that you have been invited to be part of it that makes you feel successful, fulfilled? Is that part of, is that part of what builds you personally?
Well, I feel like the proposal, like the deck, as we say, the proposal was sent to me by a young friend, and then our building was actually featured in the proposal because of they had a photograph of that floating neighborhood, and so I thought, well, I don't often get a proposal that has my own home in it, and then I met these people, and I was like, yeah, this is a great idea. I think the time has come. I think they can do it. And yeah, does it make me feel successful? Was that your question?
Yeah,
Uh,
yes. Does it give you feelings of success to have been
Oh,
invited
it gives me
to it?
feelings of great privilege to be at this age involved and still playing.
Yeah.
It does not necessarily give me a feeling of success. No,
Okay.
it gives me a feeling of gratitude more.
Yeah. Yeah. But perhaps. Well, I mean, perhaps sort of moving through that spectrum of success to fulfillment, gratitude is part of fulfillment. And
Yeah.
so it's sort of, yeah, I do think I was just reflecting as you were speaking that we are very lucky at 70 that what we do and our accumulated wisdom, I mean, for me, kind of mentoring other people, particularly, and contributing to new companies, what I've learned over the years. And for you, that same sort of thing, that experience can go on being valuable at our age. While, for people whose expertise has been, say, physical work, how do they carry on? How do they, they at 70, you cannot be as strong as you were at 20 or 30 or 40. You can't continue to be successful in a job that doesn't allow you, that, your age doesn't allow you to be. So I think we are very
But
lucky.
there's also many people who do something in their working life, but they have lots of other interests, and then
Absolutely.
finally
Yeah.
they have time for that. Whereas you and I just have one interest, which is, working, contributing in the way that we do, and we are fortunate enough that we can still do it because otherwise I don't really know what to do.
No, no, I agree. Absolutely. I have no idea what I'd do with myself if I stopped working. But actually, I mean, for a lot of people, being able to retire is a measure of success.
Yeah,
They've worked all their lives, and now is the time when they're going to relax and enjoy themselves. I mean, just because we don't think about retirement or, being able to do
yeah.
that as a positive, for many people, it is, and it's great, and they have, wonderful times in their 60s and 70s and 80s, and that should be seen as a measure of success too. So, I wonder if you're listening out there or watching, and that is that's where you've come to, whether you've retired or whether you aspire to, a comfortable, relaxing retirement. Is that one of your measures of success? And have you achieved it? And how has it worked out for you? That would be very interesting to hear.
Yeah, and another aspect is um the success of your children, because some people who are parents kind of measure their success by how successful their children are. And I do understand when you bring children into this world, you want them to have like a good life path, so to say. And you want to also help them find, their particular niche or trade or gift and be able to bring it out. But the kind of Yeah, I suspect my mother kind of boasting about her children. And she said, yes, but I'm proud of you. And I never really got that. I go like, how can you be, proud of what I do? Be proud of maybe my integrity or something. I'm always more on the inner, of course, than on that outer. But do you have that? I mean, you are a parent, you're a mother.
Yes, I mean, I do feel certainly I do feel proud of all my children for their different kinds of achievements, but I don't see it as my achievement. I mean, I suppose I like to claim a little bit of success as a parent, that they've turned out pretty well, and I hope that had something to do with me. So I guess that does give me I mean, it certainly gives me a feeling of fulfillment, if not success.
Mm-hmm.
And my sons who are older and in their early 40s are successful at what they do. And I mean, not in a kind of
And both lovely men,
oh,
lovely
thank
men.
you. I mean, I think so, but I may be a little bit biased, but if you say so, I'll take that.
Yes.
And my daughters who have had difficult beginnings, they were both adopted from Russia, as you know, have, grown up and overcome. Both of them have had stuff to overcome and
Yeah.
deal with. And so again, it, I hope that I've been successful in helping them, in supporting them as a parent. It's very hard to know. And of course, it never stops. There'll be ups and downs in all their lives. So at times I may feel, oh no, things have gone wrong. That's terrible. It's all my fault. I wasn't a success after all. That's quite possible that will happen too. But I don't really understand the people, I think, who sublimate their own success into the success of their children. I think they, don't they don't try and achieve things on their own behalf, apart from, it will be the success. And often I think that, I mean, it's partly a cultural thing, and some cultures perhaps just, that's just the way it works. But seeing the perhaps monetary success, lifestyle success of your children is what you aspire to. And what, as you say, I don't think your mother was particularly like that, but what you boast about, what you talk to your friends about, what you compare your children to other
Yeah. But
people's.
my mother did want us to be successful. She married a successful man and she thought
Yeah,
we ought to be successful. And I think we've all, kind of shaped that in our own way. But even yesterday, I was sitting here with Jos, and I don't know, I was talking about something, and then Jos said, "Your father would have been proud." And I do think about that sometimes. And I went to the general annual meeting of a company that my sister set up, and I know he would have been so proud of her. But for me too, to kind of still function on a board level, which are very different companies. I mean, he was in these multinationals and I'm in startups. It's very different scale. But still, I think, yeah, he would be, yeah, I think he would see that as a success, and maybe my parents would kind of appropriate that a little, but that their kind of weirdest eldest daughter still turned out to be a useful human being.
but do we feel successful because we think we've made our parents feel proud? Do you think that's part of what contributes to our sense of fulfillment? That, even if they didn't say it, our parents had aspirations for us, and does it make a difference to us? Does it make a difference to you in terms of fulfillment? Well, I think it does, because you've just
I
spoken
think it's a
about it.
very interesting question. It's a very interesting question to ponder. And and for me, kind of the opposite. I think I have not been a disappointment to my parents. And that kind of, yeah, gives a good feeling that they did not, I mean, they worried about us, the four of us, at different stages. They worried very much when I broke my engagement, and then when I was alone for a long time and that I didn't have children and all these things. But I think in the end, I was not a disappointment to them. And that is, yeah, that feels good. How
Yes,
about you?
I mean that's setting the bar quite low, isn't it? At least that wasn't a disappointment. But yes, I'm sure they would be extremely proud of you. And also, I think for parents, you can sort of spread. I mean, the idea. I know my father very much wanted to have grandchildren. And when I went to Australia, and I was in my 20s, I was very early 20s, I was absolutely not. I mean, actually, to begin with, we were not planning to have children at all. But that changed over time. But my father would write to me quite regularly and say, I hope you're going to give me grandchildren soon. Are you thinking of having children
Oh,
soon?
really?
And he really, yeah, so I hope that he would be not disappointed in that he's got four out of me one way or another. But also I think as you know, if you have more than one child, at least the expectations of parents are spread a little bit. So I think as an only child, it must be really tough to
Yeah.
bear all the
Yeah.
expectations for success from your parents. That must be a harder thing. And at
Well,
least,
that's a really very different relationship you have with your parents, I think, when you're an only child. But it's,
yes. Well, obviously, you know that from eldest daughter work, but
yeah, well,
you
the
know,
eldest
also you
because
can,
we were the only child, but then the
yes,
moment of dethronement came when our
yes.
brother came along. Yeah.
Do you think eldest daughters have a particularly high bar for success? Or do you think that as eldest daughters, we particularly want to please our parents and that need
I think
for
so.
that?
I think, and there's research that I can't quote now because I wrote a book 10 years ago, but um, like 80% of eldest daughters are really out kind of to please their parents. And because, when we go to school, our parents want to know that they've kind of prepared as well and that we can socialize and that we understand things. So if we come back with good marks, it's kind of a relief to them. And of course, also we're set up as the example. If they allow us not to do our homework, they can never force the younger ones. So there's a lot of that, kind of structurally built in. And then there's eldest daughters who from a very young age go like, I'm not going to do it. I'm just going to sabotage and not do that. And they often have a more difficult path. I mean, our path of pleasing our parents has its downs, and we need to kind of find ourselves in our own way. I even spoke to one eldest daughter who published, I think, her first book when she was 65, and she said, I finally found my own voice. She was a bit older than we were. But for the others who kind of rebel and do sabotage of that program, it's also very often kind of self-sabotage. And, then, yeah. But
Mhm.
I do think we want to succeed because, yeah, from an early age, that was kind of the stamp of approval on our parents,
Yes,
very generally speaking. Yeah. But
yeah.
it is part of that eldest daughter effect.
Yes, and
Sure.
I guess it's what we believed that they had in mind as success for us. So it
Yeah.
might have been as eldest daughters, it might have been to marry well, whatever well means, and have a home and children and a particular lifestyle, or it might have been to become business people and succeed, or follow in the family footsteps of perhaps be a lawyer or a doctor, or
Yeah.
sometimes those sort
Yeah.
of things go in families. And if you don't do that, if you choose a different path or don't go into the family business, which I don't think was ever an option for either of us, luckily. Although, having
No,
said
no, no.
that, both my parents were writers, and my mother always wanted to be a writer and wasn't till later in life. And I think possibly I took that on from her that, being a writer was an important thing to be. My father had books out there, and I maybe felt that, that would be a way of succeeding for them as well to do that.
Hmm.
But I mean, I
That
think,
is still there. Whereas in my family, it was mostly business, business, business.
yeah,
And being a writer was, I think my mother had aspirations, but I think I was the better writer of the two, to be honest. And yeah, yeah,
but
but there is something, subconsciously or the environment that we grow up in that we kind of are, it kind of permeates.
yeah. Yeah, definitely. But I think, I mean, I feel that there is something for everybody about becoming an author, about publishing a book, that almost nobody can say that is not a successful thing to have done. I mean,
Hmm.
either in sort of
Yeah.
families where education is, you know, new perhaps to this generation, somebody publishing a book and writing a book is really something special, even if there's no, you know, sort of history of that in the family, even if
Yeah.
people aren't, the family aren't readers per se, still seeing that their son or daughter, their child has published a book is always something
I
that,
think so too. And you help them do that.
yeah,
And
yeah, and
I'm
people,
impressed. You know, people say you've written a book, and then I go like, I've written five. I go,
yeah,
when did I do that? I'm impressed by that. I don't, I
exactly.
wanted to repeat it, but not achieving that at the moment. But
No,
anyway,
and what's also lovely is that my authors often tell me that it makes a difference to them in terms of their children. Their children are impressed that they've written a book, and that's
my
lovely.
mother was impressed that I wrote a book.
Yes, I think
Yeah.
it's particularly true of women because women, you know, it's still often the case that the man is seen as the father is seen as the success in terms of, you know, external stuff. And when a mother writes a book, it's kind of proof, you know, that they are smart and clever and
So
achieve.
there we are full circle back to like the definition of success is very often something tangible,
Yeah.
like a book or like a career or like a, you know, a family, a thriving family. And but there's also the inner kind of gratitude and feeling of fulfillment.
Yes. Oh, I must just tell you one thing that I feel is a really nice external marker of success is that Book Magic AI, the book writing app, has been shortlisted for two entrepreneur awards this week. So one is the Great British Entrepreneur Awards,
Wow.
and one is startups. So there's a, you know, there's a nice external kind of validation there that feels like,
Validation of your ideas.
yes, mine and the team's ideas, and you know that feels like, you know, that's a marker of an external marker of some kind of success.
Yeah,
So
very much.
that's,
Very much. Well, an external marker for me was it just happens to be in my desk. This
oh,
book
oh,
was launched
that's
called
wonderful.
Sacred Business by my friend Nikki Trott. And she said she'd mentioned me in the books. I'm like, mentioned me in the book. So I go to the back where the names are, and I find on page 166, I'm mentioned in a book. I feel like, whoa,
Yes, that is an achievement.
that's
That is your,
something. That is an
yeah,
achievement for other
yes,
people to read about. And
indeed.
then there is this little sort, oh, I'm so sorry my parents can't see that. They would have been proud.
I know. Yes,
Yeah. Still very important people in our lives, even at
yeah.
70.
Yes. Yes, it's funny, isn't it? How often people do say that, actually. I wish my mother or my
Yeah.
father could have seen that. So it
Yeah.
doesn't go away, does it? And that is
Doesn't go away. And
their approval.
they're still here.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
Well, good luck on these nominations.
Oh,
And
thank
when I
you.
hear
Yes.
next week.
Yeah, no, I won't hear any more till I think
Oh,
oh no, one of them is next month and one of them is not till November. So,
okay.
so
Oh,
thank
well,
you. Thank you. But
but the listing and the nomination is acknowledgement
yes, it
of
is. It is.
your ideas and your business acumen and your way of helping people achieve success.
Yes. Yes, I will
Yes.
take that.
Okay.
Oh, well,
Well, this was an interesting conversation, I found.
yes, yes. I'm not sure we've actually defined success, but there are lots of definitions of success. And, you know, to anybody who's listening, please tell us yours. And please tell us, give us your successes. Would love to
Yeah.
see your
Yeah.
achievements, your successes, your
Your fulfillment.
fulfillment. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay.
Okay. See you
Bye.
next week. Bye.